Hey, what's up guys? D the Trader here with Fluent Finance. So today I'm going to go over how to trade the triggers that I put out on my watch list daily. So right now we're looking at Facebook. On Facebook today I put out two different price triggers. One was for a long position or a call, and one was for a short position or to buy a put. So the other one was lucid, the same thing. One was to buy a call and one was to buy a put, which is generally on every trade that I put out, there's an option to trade a call or trade a put. So the price on Facebook that we were looking at to get into calls was at 332.41. And if we come back here, and I want to draw your attention to this chart, this 13-minute chart, which is going to be the third one on the right, that when the open came, we were trading below 332. We were trading below the trigger, essentially, which was at 325.52. So on the open, there wasn't... The trigger was already hit on the opening candle. So you have two options. You can wait for a retest of the price target of 325.52 to look for a short entry, which would be back up here on the next candle. Or if you're working off of a 3-minute over here, you would see that we had a little bit of a retest. You could wait for that candle to close and then look for your opportunity to buy back in short, to buy a put and take it short and go and write it down. So essentially we didn't get a retest from the open, we just went essentially just straight down. We had a little bit of a retest at around 9:39, 9:36 on these 3-minute candles right here. This is what is a low volume retest. You see that the volume bars, these blue bars down here at the bottom of the chart, there's a lot of volume at the open, which we all know, but when we're retesting the price back on the way up, the volume is not as great as it was on the way down. And you can see that back on the way down, the volume starts to increase back until we hit low of day at 315.43. So your only real option on this trade would have been to take a short position at the open, and I think it opened somewhere around like 325.16, which was a few cents short of the trigger, but you would have still had an opportunity to get in short into, say, a 320 put and write it down all the way. And now we don't know where it's going to go, but we know that we have some decent resistance around 319.06, or decent support rather, around 319.06, according to my Fibonacci's that I've drawn on here. So you would have a short that would be essentially... you probably get somewhere in like a 5-point move to the downside on this had you taken it on the open. This would be my signal after this candle close right here to start taking some of the position off responsibly, and then let my runners run to see if we can hit this low of day down here, which we did at 315.43. This was also a really good setup for the long side on intraday, because you can see that we hit that low of day, and most tickers essentially bottomed out. They hit their bottom prices, and then they had a great afternoon. So you also had an opportunity to trade this back to the long side. My entry would have been at this 4236 level at 319.06. Once it starts closing above there, I see some nice consolidation. It held a support, and then we had a nice breakout all the way up to around 328, the 328 price level. So on this, on the upside, I could have come back in and taken a call Once I see this candle close, I see an area of good consolidation. I see volume increasing to the upside. And again, if we come over here to the time frame, we see that volume is picking up compared to the previous volume on consolidation in this area right here. So that would have been the Facebook trade. Now, if you were just using the price triggers, you would come in here, you would set an alert that if the price is below 325 and how much ever change I gave it, whatever the level was at 325, you would set your trigger for 325, and you would see if that price closes below that trigger, or if it closes above the trigger on the opposite side. The price was 332.41, so if it closed above that trigger, that would be an opportunity to take a long entry. So that is kind of how that price trigger works. Another instance was Lucid, LCID. This was a great trade from the open. Another great trade directly from the open. You can see this first 13-minute candle was a great entry after that, but then it kind of fell off a little bit intraday. This is another one that we would have had to essentially take at the open, which is a little bit more high risk because of the volatility. But if we stopped below the price trigger, that would let us know, hey, I'm stopped out. Let's move on to the next trade. But again, the price the price to the upside on Lucid was 43.10. To go into calls, we went below that. We opened below 43.10 and never hit the alert to the upside that we were looking for. And so, but it's still provided. If we were looking at this chart, still it's on our radar. You know, we have a potential trade set up. And so if we're looking at the chart, we keep it up, we see that opening candle, the opening candles had a lot of great volume. We essentially had a retest down here of the opening, near the opening price range. You can see down here a little bit easier at 40.77. We kind of retested the opening low almost. We were about 40 cents short of the opening low. And then that gave us an opportunity to, again, once we hit the next candle, to come over and take it to take a long position back to the upside. And we see this nice consolidation right here. After it retests the low, we see a nice consolidation and then a breakout to the highs. And it broke out, I think the high of day was like around 43.01. So well below the trigger, but still a great trade that we could have taken if you liked it to the upside. I think Lucid still has some work to do. It has the potential to be a really great runner if it wants to. It really didn't have a lot of range today, so the triggers essentially failed on the long side. I think they got triggered on the short side at the open, down at 40.10 or 40.20, whatever it was at this morning, whatever I put the trigger at. So, but again, if we look back at Facebook, we can see here, this is how to set the triggers. You would go in here, and essentially all I'm doing is going to create alert, and I would set the trigger to 425. Well, we'll just go with that, 425.35. So the alert is on my chart. So once I see that price has hit this alert, then that would trigger my long side entry. And again, I would look for price action and volume around the trigger so we don't get faked out. So if volume is real low at this trigger and it looks like it's going to roll back over to the downside, then that would not be a tradable position for us. I would not take that trade if it was on low volume and it didn't look like it was really doing anything, and it really didn't until the end of the day. that's not a tradable trigger. So anyway, I hope that makes sense, guys. Y'all stay green. Remember to check me out on Twitter, Instagram. I'm always posting some decent setups that are fairly conservative entries and have great risk to reward. And stay green, y'all. Y'all have a good night.